Hello there and welcome back to Four Times in a Podcast. You join us about 9:30 on the 21st of August. It's about just under 24 hours since Celtic were blown full time as they drew nothing each in the first leg of their Champions League playoff with Kazakhstani side Kairat Almaty. It was quite a horrendous performance, very lacklustre. There was chants against the board, just displeasure voiced at the performance as well, so full compliment as you'd expect. The tie's not over, but last night was a bit of maybe a wake-up call for those that haven't seen what's been coming. It's been sort of pre-warned on here that we felt that we were sort of sleepwalking towards a disaster. Maybe didn't think it was going to happen last night with the calibre of opponent we came up against, but it absolutely did. So Tony, I'll come straight to you as we sort of discussed, all season it's been us sort of try warn that we felt that things were an absolute mess off the pitch, and last night seemed to be a bit of the culmination of that, just pathetic on the pitch and pathetic off the pitch.
Aye, I think yesterday everything was kind of laid bare. It's hard to know where to start. I guess that the last couple of years we've probably been more diplomatic than we were in 2020, but I can't be annoyed anymore. I despise the people that run Celtic and burning passion. I could feel myself getting angrier every pass last night, from Scales to Forrest to Ralston, and you're watching it going, what fucking year is this? I'm probably repeating myself because I'd done an episode of Gig Pod earlier, but my kind of point was, make no mistake about it, the board fucking despise us as well. They hate us. They don't communicate with us. They raise the cost of season tickets while bragging about the millions, tens of millions they have in the bank. They're charging £25 for stupid friendlies. There's no qualifier in the season ticket. There's no even Falkirk on a Friday night at home. Now, they know people are struggling now, and they don't give a flying fuck. They want to take as much money out of us as possible. Now, really, they work for us. We plough the money in. We pay their wages. But the way they see it is, we work to give them our fucking money, and we should shut up about it and just go on with it. And for some reason, there's some fans that actually go with that. There's some people who get up, log on to social media and decide, know who I'm going to bat for the day? Dermot Desmond, Nicholson and Peter Lawwell. 3 guys who couldn't give one fucking toss about me. I'm going to go and bat for them on social media. I would rather somebody hit me over the head with a bat than bat for these fucking people. And it's infuriating. Now, what we seen yesterday, the board deserve that. Look, let's be honest. We are a Champions League club. We've got a Champions League attendance, Champions League fans, a Champions League manager, and some Champions League players, very limited at the minute. But we've got a Conference League CEO, and that's a compliment to Michael Nicholson. Conference League is well above what I actually think he is. And we've got a Conference League board. So yesterday, we went into that game. There's so much money on the line. There's so much prestige on the line. It's such a big opportunity for us to continue to grow and for players to continue to prove, and also for the manager. It's a big part of his ambition and something he wants to be a part of, and it would make him stay if we can keep improving. And I think some of the arguments that people give is, well, we should be beating that team irrespective. That's the kind of thing people say, that we should be winning that game. And then I look at some of the players in the pitch. Scales doesn't play for Almaty. Forrest doesn't play for Almaty. Like, they wouldn't get in their team. Ralston wouldn't get in the team. Yang wouldn't get in the team. Fucking at the minute, Ida fucking wouldn't get anybody's team. So this kind of idea that Brendan should just win this game, because I know a lot of people still don't like Brendan, and he's not blameless. Let's get that out there. But I just don't understand the strategy of, let's handicap ourselves as much as possible. Let's continue to put ourselves at a disadvantage. And it doesn't make any real sense. It's just madness. So you're pissing off your fans, you're pissing off your manager, you're pissing off other clubs because you don't know what the fuck you're doing. And then you draw with a team that's, I don't think they've ever won away from home. A Kazakhstan team who were a bigger price last night to win than Livingston are at the weekend. So the bookies is it 1 to 10. I don't know where they get that from. But our attack is just so weak. So Kyogo in January, so Kuhn as quick as we could in summer. Haven't replaced them. Now, I'm at risk of repeating myself, but I'm at risk of repeating ourselves because we've been having this conversation the whole fucking summer, because these people are clueless. They are totally and utterly clueless. You've got this billionaire old guy who sees us as a kind of plaything, who's obviously dictating for the top. You've got Peter Lawwell, who's been at the club, I think, longer than I've been alive. Most of the fans don't want him there, but he just hangs about. He's this chairman that's got no power. Nobody believes it, whether he does or no. Listen to the chants, Peter. Just fuck off, Just leave, please. Thank God, we get rid of you for about 10 minutes and you couldn't wait to come back. Then you've got fucking Nicholson. I mean, hopeless, totally fucking hopeless. Doesn't he know what he's doing quite clearly? And shouldn't he be in this position? It's just this kind of bowling club. All these guys that are mates. I mean, the fact at one point Lawwell's son was involved with recruitment. It's absolute fucking madness for a club of your size to be run in such a terrible manner. And you see some of the defences for the board. Oh, you're entitled. Well, what does that mean? I want Celtic to be the best they can be. All right, okay, I'm entitled to that. If I think Celtic shouldn't be playing Champions League qualifiers with guys like Forrest and Scales, then fucking stamp entitled over my head, because I don't see that as being entitled. I see that as having a working brain. And I think Brendan Rodgers, I said this in a podcast, every time he was asked, are you happy with this squad getting into the qualifier, he point blank refused to say, yeah, I'm happy with the squad. He refused because maybe he could see that they aren't good enough. And I say this in Gigpot as well, I'm not going to sit and slag Scales and say he's this and he's that. It's not his fault he's playing. Same with Forrest and Ralston. They're all trying, they're just not good enough. There's no point in me getting after them. This is purely on an incompetent board who are arrogant, who think they're better than all of us, who look down their noses at the fans, and who think, as I say, they think we should just shut up and give them our money. The overconfidence of these people, the idea of Michael Nicholson at AGMs cracking jokes about penalty to Rangers, what the fuck gives him the right to ever think it's appropriate for him to be cracking jokes, whereas go-ahead Eagles are apparently laughing him out the building for trying to sing a winger that's only worth $6 million. So I think the arrogance of these people is quite astounding when you look at Celtic. The stadium's a shithole, let's be honest. The toilets are manky, the food's shite. The corporate side of things, they're well looked after, I know that for a fact. That's all good. But the normal fans, well, fuck yous. I mean, yous are there to pay the wages, and that's it. And then you look at some, I mean, the banners in the stadium, even stuff as small as that they've been taken down for so long, they couldn't get them back up and running for the new season kicking off. Just from an aesthetic point of view. And somebody, I don't know who it was, I'd love to name what podcast it was, but I don't know, asked Brendan Rodgers at a press conference. He actually used Michael Nicholson's words against him. Michael Nicholson says he wanted Celtic to be a world-class club. And they ask if we've been world-class in our transfer business this window. And Brendan, obviously, he just kind of was taken a bit aback about it. And he says, I don't know about world-class. Because it's basically an admission that we're nowhere near world-class. But Nicholson's not accountable to anybody. Doesn't need to speak to us, the fans. He just doesn't say it. I said this in Gigpot. I don't know what he sounds like. I don't know his vision for the club. I don't know anything about what he wants for Celtic because he won't talk to the fans. I think that's unbelievable that this guy is the CEO of a football club and we haven't a fucking clue what his vision is. I mean, his vision seems to be just annoy people. If that's his vision, he's fucking doing a great job. I think he's doing a fucking fantastic job. And then the one guy they brought in, they decided that fans and fan media, whatever you want to call it, should be part of the fold and will communicate with him. They couldn't wait to get rid of him. And then the second they get rid of him, they phoned all the fan media people that he brought in to throw him under the bus and basically run him down. I mean, that's the level of the clique that's going on at Celtic. That's a guy you would love to speak to, Dominic Mackay. Fucking hell, I bet he could tell you a few stories. So just the state of the club, it's mad as well. I think some people conflate hating the board with hating Celtic, and they're two separate things. I love the club. I love a lot of the people that support the club. I love the days out. I love some of the players. I love the manager. But the people running it, and you go, do I really want to work to give my money to cunts like Michael Nicholson, who's earning outrageous amounts of money to make a cunt of things? You're going, fuck, I don't know. I don't know if I can really justify gain guys like this money and the amount of kits they bring out as well. And they know parents are under pressure to buy it because you don't want your kid to be the odd one out that's not get the fucking third kit because they want it. They know exactly what they're doing and the pressure they're putting people under. And as I say, with the season ticket increases, then you have people say, I just don't renew as if it's that easy. I said this in Gig Pod as well. Celtic's an escape for people. Football in general is an escape for people for grief, or for work, or for stress, or for any other problems. And these cunts are making it more difficult. And I just don't understand it. And then come a couple of months, they'll be bragging about the amount of money go. They'll all get wage rises. They'll not actually answer any questions or take any responsibility. So for me, as I says, I hate the people who run the club, but they hate us as well. No doubt about it. They fucking despise us, and I'm glad to hear sack the board chants, but it needs to continue. Even if we beat Livy, even if we're 3-0 up in 5 minutes, something needs to be done to get rid of these people. I don't have the answers, unfortunately, but this just can't go on. Can't go on. You've happened, even going back to Bernard Higgins, a guy who made fans' lives miserable. They wanted to employ him out of all the people. That shows you what they feel about the fans. You could go on for the next hour talking about these people, but the day Desmond's not at my club, Nicholson's out in his arse and Lawwell's out in his arse, will be a fucking good day. So, bye. Still in it. Go to Kazakhstan next week and hopefully we can get the result.
Aye, that's it, just a matter in the second leg. Danny, I'll bring you in. What's your thoughts on it? Obviously, a lot happening on and off the pitch. What's your thoughts on the performance and just the whole shit show in general?
Hello, nice to get in. Totally agree with everything Tony said. It's, we had a bit of back and forth last night in the group chat about how I seen the game compared to, obviously going after the board. That I think with what Tony said to us stands, and I'll talk about the performance before getting into that. But I just thought last night the team were awful. I thought the manager picked the wrong team. I think he picked the wrong substitutes. I don't know whether he's doing it deliberately to play politics with the board, or whether is it the best? The board are ultimately to blame for everything, right? But they're to blame for the negativity that surrounded this club for the last 2 months. And it's funny, I know for a fact we all predicted Celtic to win quite comfortably last night, but I think for what we'd said before is leading up to these things where you're turning a gimme into a coin flip, and now it's a fucking coin flip going into next week. Just so unprepared, on the part, the team played with no drive. There was no urgency about their play. Even McGregor broke through and he played a horrible pass to Maeda, but I didn't think it was that bad a pass. I don't know, I thought on another night Maeda maybe no got onto it, but he could have caught it and maybe retrieve possession, but he just kind of let it go. There were no, the midfield, there were nothing in midfield. How McCowan never got off the bench is beyond me. You could have took anybody short of the keeper. You could have took off and put McCowan on, and he would have gave you something in midfield. They'd have tried to make something happen. Forrest is done. Forrest had that wee purple patch when he was being used as an impact sub under Rodgers in the first season, and then he started away at Dundee and he scored twice and everybody thought he was back, and he's not kicked the ball since. We fucking sabotaged the last 3-4 games of the season last year to try and get him a goal, and it fucking finally happened in the last kick of the ball of the season. And just brutal. He's brutal. And last night it was so bad, and if you're going to use him as an impact sub. He'd found his niche. I don't know why. Well, I don't know why, she's near the fucker there, but just awful. And Maeda's not kicked his ass either. He's not a striker either, by the way. Misses far too many chances. He's no composure. That one at the end, he was never scoring that. I don't know why he took it on so early. He'd half the fucking pitch to run into. Just really disappointing. And as I say with the manager, I just don't know if he's picking the right team at the minute, if he's picking his best 11. Engels was outstanding Friday night. All his deliveries were right on the money. And yet we've got Negren and that, trying to keep players time. But Negren's making it whole for himself because he keeps rallying the troops every time we get a corner, only to fucking pass it 4 yards or hit the first man with it. And he's never a centre midfielder, by the way. Andy before Andy gets in. But I just thought it was that, and we never looked like scoring. There was that right at the end. I think maybe about 10 minutes to go, we had a really good break up the park. And I thought, where the fuck was that the rest of the game? Yang done more in 40 seconds than the rest of the team did in the first half, but then he disappeared after that as well. You just don't know what you're getting with Yang. He looks really bright, but he never actually follows it through. But that was another I wanted to bring up. This is where the board came in, right? Apart from the Johnston to Ralston switch last night, every other sub resulted in a rejig of the team. Players are getting shifted about here, there and everywhere to fucking make room for other players. The lack of depth of quality in the squad, there's plenty of players there, but the quality is lacking. This Yamada, no, I never write players off early. Never. I've always been fair. I always want to see players settle in. But this boy looks like a competition winner. He looks like they two centre halves, big horrible bastards. Let nothing by them. They just bounced him off each other, and that it doesn't look. It doesn't look like he knows where he should be on the park. He looks like he's terrified of getting the ball. I don't think I've seen him dribble. I think he had that one run at Aberdeen where he ended up kind of dinging it out the park for a goal kick or something. He doesn't look like he knows what he's got to do with the ball, and we've already got Maeda for that. Maeda's work rate and his physical attributes get him out of jail a lot of time, and last year he had a terrific season. Well, he's not hit the heights yet, but not really get space for more players in the team that look fucking terrified every time he get the ball. Ida, I feel sorry for Ida, but he was rotten last night. I do feel sorry for him. I think him being made an example of was a bit poor, in my opinion. He just stayed on, because we needed somebody, needed a, but I don't know. I really don't know, but it was just a poor night. We never looked like scoring. Still, bizarrely, I think we'll win next week, just because I don't think that team are very good at all, and I think, but then we're going up against a team that never been in the Champions League. This is like us getting to a fucking semi-final of the Champions League and drawing nothing each away with fucking Barcelona in the first leg, and you're thinking this is a chance for us to make history at Parkhead. You'd be right up for it. They're going to be the exact same. They're fucking going to come out flying at us next week, and you can already see the Celtic away in Europe happening right in front of you. I just didn't think they were that good, so I think if we actually were to be 10, 15, 20% better than we were last night, we'd probably eke out a 1-0, but it's going to be horrible. It's going to be fucking murder. And at the end of it, what's the point? Because we're going to get into Champions League and get fucking horsed. You know, we've all said that amongst ourselves that Europa League's probably where at, and I said we can't go into it this year because the negativity around the club's already bad as it is. And it would just put the fucking tin hat on it. The shit show that is, you know. Like, Tony's right, the board sit there, they don't care about us. They don't care about any Celtic fans. There's actually no getting rid of them, which is upsetting me. They can shout sack the board and everything all they want, but I can't see a way out. They've got it too easy. They've got it too easy. You know, said a couple of weeks ago, I think they've done a great job getting Celtic to the level that they're at, but now for the last 4 or 5 years, maybe even more, they're actively holding us back now. And, you know, they're still trying to sign 2 and 3 million players. Your season ticket, you know, 300-400 quid 20 years ago, you know, whatever it was, you're now up to 700. But yeah, they're still trying to sign the same. They're still trying to spend the same money. They're trying to take more money off you, but they're trying to spend the same money on players. And, you know, it was funny because last night I'm like, I bet you we'll sign 2 or 3 players in the next week. We'll go out and then that'll be a lot. And it'll be 2 or 3 players that could have come in fucking months ago. There's no club in the world that has these issues with transfers. Celtic are unique in that way, and they should be fucking ashamed of themselves. It's so embarrassing. Like, it gets you down. You know, Tony said FIP was an escape for people, right? And he's fucking right. It gets you down when you can see. Do you know the worst it is, right? There's absolutely nothing. There's nothing causing this other than Celtic. The lassie that was on TNT last night, Lucy Ward, right? She's up. She usually does the Premier League. I think she played for England or something, I don't know. Right, she's actually quite a good commentator, but she was up there half-arsed last night with Rory Hamilton, and she fucking called it out. She wasn't even that interested, and she said, this is an unmitigated disaster. Why are Celtic no giving the manager the funds that they need to strengthen the squad and make ties like this a formality? She's like, they've got nobody to blame but themselves, and she's fucking right, and she can see that, and she's only been in Glasgow for a couple of years, because she's probably covering somebody. It's just fucking pathetic, and, you know, even if you take away the fitness side of things, the way they're treating the fans, this whole Green Brigade issue now on the concourse and that, they're putting up fucking barriers, they're checking folks. You know, one of the boys with mates was saying, you know, you're trying to go to the toilet and you're getting your ticket checked. And then there's pictures of they've got this, like, it's like a tiny kind of frame thing, and they're sending people through there. They're going to cause somebody a serious fucking injury, or worse, if they're no fucking careful. And, you know, and even people, I've seen a few people say, like, some poor steward's going to cop it, following orders, and is going to cop it at fans. And it's probably coming. And yet they're pushing the Celtic support. And it's this, and then, as you say, you get the, oh, you're entitled, or you get this or that, or, you know, oh, you're ungrateful. And then, how can you be entitled if, you know, you're not asking, we're not demanding Celtic win Everton or win the Champions League. All we want to see is the team fucking actively trying to get better. Can you honestly say, can anybody say Celtic are actually you can see a concerted effort of Celtic to actually progress and improve. There's this whole notion that we should just be happy with our lot. And it's like, well, Rodgers is going to go next year, so why would you do this? Because, the new manager might come in and think, well, if the new manager wants to come in and sell 14 players, let him fucking do it. Let him sign 15 to replace. But that's, and the whole people, like, I see people saying, oh, why are we no gambling and getting into it? It's not a fucking gamble to do your job. It's not a gamble to try and be better than what you were last year. And do you know what? There's a talk about entitled and Everton, and Dan, I'll get back to you. I don't know if you agree, but I've thought this, been thinking this all day. We lost a Scottish Cup final last year on penalties to complete a treble. And if we all ask ourselves, in reality, no cunt was really that bothered. Nobody was really that fussed. Aye, we wanted to win it and we lost. Aye, everybody was upset. But see, a day or two later, everybody had moved on and was thinking about the next season. Because last season, after Munich, it became a bit of a chore. The league was already won anyway. They still managed to fucking make an arse themselves against Rangers at Parkhead. And it was all done by the shouting. They fucked the Scottish Cup penalties. Nobody was really that bothered. And then, because I think everybody has became a bit apathetic to it. And Tony's right. You want Celtic to win we all want Celtic to win every game. And even though we'll probably get horsed in the Champions League, we want Celtic to go and win next week. But it can't just be... I know that this whole phrase is people want is just to be better than Rangers and that's it. But it just seems to be... They just want to be the same all the time. It's like, oh, well, we're the best in Scotland now, but let's just keep being like this. There's no ambition. There's no thought. The communication for the club's really bad. Like, we were listening to another podcast earlier, they were talking about who makes the decisions. If it is Nicholson, if it's Lawwell, is it Desmond? Nicholson is a CEO. Again, we don't know if he's any good as a CEO or no, which is probably worse than knowing that he's a fucking diddy. Because he's not done it. Name one thing that he's come out and done. And, it's like, sorry, I'll get back to you, Dan, 'cause like Tony, I could go on all fucking night. But something's got to change. I can't see a way out. I can't see the way they leave. They've got it too easy. People in the game, we always hear about how well Celtic are running, blah, blah, blah. So they're pretty safe from that point of view, but fans aren't happy. And, something's got to change eventually. I don't see how it happens, but we need to keep fighting for it, because this is pish, and this is meant to be us with a manager that's meant to demand respect and demand, things get done for him. Who are they going to replace him for? They're going to replace him with or Diddy that will not speak. It's frightening.
Definitely is. Andy, I'll bring you in. I know you were there last night as well. Terrible yet again, and I'll just let you have your say now as well.
You don't know, my thoughts, and I wholeheartedly agree with pretty much everything that's been said so far. The all threes that have touched on the game and mismanagement and everything else. It's the same old story, and that's probably the most frustrating thing here. Like, I don't want to just repeat everything that's already been saying as much as I probably should, because it just emphasises that everybody is on the same page here. It's the same old story. Like, we've been here before. It's like fucking Groundhog Day. Like, how many times are we going to go through this process? How many times is it going to be excuses? How many times are we going to be left short? How many times does this need to happen? And for too long, there was a lot of fans that just... listen, there's some fans out there who it just isn't in them to criticise Celtic. That's what it is, whatever. I think now, because this is probably one of the worst that we've had in playoff games or qualifier games, because that Kairat are fucking muck, absolute muck, and we created fuck all. We just didn't. It wasn't as if we went and battered them, and we just couldn't quite get out of the line. Like, we were fucking murder, and they just aren't a great team, and it's maybe finally opened up more people's eyes. I was a bit shocked with just how vocal it got when people were singing "Let's sack the board" and that during the game, because, to be honest, I thought we were just conditioned that much that so many people just would refuse to get to that stage. But like, the game itself, as I said, it's inevitable. It's neglect, it's negligence, it's every fucking word you want to use is why that happens. Like, it's what we watched was it's the inevitability of mismanagement. Like that's what happens when you end up in that position. Like, yet again, we see Johnston go down. Who do we need to replace him with? Anthony Ralston. Not good enough. Just simply not good enough. We're unprepared for anybody to get injured. We're not in a position where... No, I'm not even like for like yeah, listen, you're not going to have a squad of 25 players all just as good as each other. But fucking hell, give us a chance. Like, Tierney, we have one left back at the club, and we all know. Listen, he's had his injury problems, whatever else. He's blowing, begging to come off at 60 minutes, and has been since he's been back up here. Still, no other cover, and then you're having to put Liam Scales, who is fucking shite at centre half, let alone at left back. That's just not good enough. That's mismanagement. There's no other way to describe this. Like it's you're constantly putting the manager in there, fighting with one arm tied behind his back. That's what's happening there. I've been banging the drum about wingers for fucking how long now? Like I don't know. I can't say it any other way. Like James Forrest, his place at the club now should just be a courtesy that he's been here that long and we're just letting him see out his contract. He should be fucking fourth, fifth choice right winger. But no, we're getting into one of the biggest games that we have this season and he's starting. That's not good enough. I think when he said earlier on, like, he's not been good enough for a long time. We were fucking trying everything we could to get him a goal last season. It just so happened that the ball fell to him at the right moment for it to happen in the last game of the season. Like Yang, another one, like you never know what you're going to get with him, but we're relying on that when he has his wee 5 minute spell and decides he fancies it, that we get the goal. Otherwise, again, it's like playing with a man down. I think Manny's already mentioned it. Like I think purely down to the level of them, and we'll probably cover it ahead of the game next week. That we probably should, even with the fucking squad the state it's in, probably should go through because they are terrible. Like they would struggle against the vast majority of teams in Scotland. They really would. They are that bad. But even at that, you're still leaving yourself up to so much risk. And I've said this before. It's not necessarily about. Listen, you can't mitigate any risk. You can't guarantee yourself to get through. You can't, but you can fucking give yourself as best a chance as possible. And we continually don't do that. And then we're fucking surprised when you get papped out off Midtjylland, papped out off Cluj, papped out off Maribor. Like you could, there's a list as long as your fucking arm at times where this has happened. And it's just a fucking disgrace. I can't believe that it's actually still happening. I can't. The stuff about world class and recruitment and all that, it's just utter fucking garbage. It's saying shit for the sake of saying shit because there's people out there who will fucking lap it up. And again, where does that come from? It comes from the fact that, to be honest, what do the board and what do a lot of fans out there measure themselves against, whether they like it or no, they measure themselves against Rangers. That's all they measure. All they care about, and it's the entire wrong bar to be looking at. It's fucking nuts. And it's the same board and the same people who want to shout about one of the biggest clubs in the world. We're global, we're Champions League top, we're fucking Champions League fans, and it's garbage. It's fucking nonsense because we act like it in zero way. There is no way that we act like it. There's nothing that Celtic do that's world class. Absolutely nothing other than fucking hold cash. We can probably hold cash with the best of them in the world. It's just nuts. It really is. Like what do we really get for our money? Consistently goes up, but the return that we get consistently drops. It's always the same. Like I think it was Tony was saying it earlier. Like we used to get, oh, that's a lot of money you've spent. Thanks very much. As a payback, here's a qualifier fee. Here's a friendly free. Here's a whatever it might be, but already we've had fucking friendlies that they're wanting to roger people for 25, 30 quid, whatever it might be. They couldn't believe their eyes when Falkirk get drawn out. Boof, 25 quid right out every cunt's bank account straight away, and then tickets that then go on general sale, they put the price up. Same again with Kairat. Whatever it was, fucking 29, 30 quid. But then, again, the minute you're known a season ticket, I fuck every cunt else, boof, nearly 40 quid, whatever it was, £39 for punters who have not got season tickets. Like, it's utter contempt that they treat us with. Every single person. And you would have a bit more understanding for it. See if the board were out spending money, they were out saying, listen, we're going to make a right good go at this year. We had a good year last year. But we've seen, like, that's just not their concern. Their concern is how can we absolutely maximise the amount of money we bring in and just keep getting away with it. Just be better than Rangers. That's as I say, that's where real success is measured, and it's fucking nuts. Like, if you really think we are this huge club where we don't fucking act like it, we operate like some sort of wee fucking provincial outfit, and just give yourself a wee pat in the back for just being better than Rangers, who again, a lot that's happened so many because they're fucking murder. They're bored to take them for a ride, and they beat themselves. Constantly beat themselves and hand it to us on a silver platter, and we've got away with it. But realistically, if you're honest, see if we had a proper challenge, would you back the board to go and do anything about it? Is that what it's going to take? Do we really need to go and make that much of an arse of it? That Desmond gets wound up again? Somebody takes a piss at him? Does he see some fucking hun in the stand giving it wahoo, and then he goes, no, that's not happening, I'll spend a bit of money here? Is that what it's going to take? Is that where he needs to be pushed? Because that's just not good enough. And it's not about, oh, it's just one bad game, as I mentioned earlier. Like, we've seen this movie a million fucking times. Like, how many times does it need to happen before it's sorted, before it's rectified? Like, I can't for the life of me understand that. I can't. This has already been said. Like, we're in the same cycle. It's the same excuses. The manager doesn't even fucking know what to say anymore. He's been as much as a shield as possible, but like, we're going to end up in the same predicament where we make an arse of qualifying at one point, because it's again, it only gets harder for you for one reason or another, whatever it might be. But you then get the issues, and they'll start wheeling out the same excuses. Well, players don't want to come when you're no guaranteed to play in that level, and we can't be spending that much. But you've built that problem. You've created that problem. It's just fucking. I struggle at times to actually understand it, because it's the same. It's just, you want to pretend you're a giant fucking talking about Adidas deals and whatever it was, Premier status or something, but they want to act like some fucking diddy mob, which is a reality. It's just, should we have won the game? Yes, absolutely, but we've not because there's too many players at the club that just aren't good enough, that just don't quite cut the standard. And people can talk and shout and ball about, but Rodgers has spent money in the past. And what? But this is just because people were so quick to shout about transfer fees and everything. Like, the money's there. Like, the finance is there. It's not as if we're going to buy a player and then if it doesn't work out, we're fucked. Like, do I shout about how much fucking money they've got in the bank and then don't do it? What's the point? Is it just to flash their balance about to every cunt else in Scotland? Because that appears it's all we're fucking doing. And it's already been mentioned. Like, there's going to come a point where teams also don't want to do any business with us, because why the fuck would they? Like, it's not only the fans that they treat with contempt, they treat every cunt else in football with contempt and all. Go ahead Eagles taking the absolute piss out of us because they're why we try and conduct our business. Why would any team want to actually engage with us? Why would any team even pick up the phone to us? What would be the point? Or they're selling their phone and they want to buy somebody off it. Don't even fucking bother, because they're going to send you some embarrassing offer about 10% of what we've actually asked for. What's the point? Why would you bother your fucking ass with that? And it's like, players aren't immune to that. Even if you're a Maeda or whatever, why the fuck would you want to hang about? Like, Kyogo left. We knew he was leaving. Everybody knew he was on his way out, and we're acting surprised by it. I can't understand why we've still no signed a replacement for Kyogo. However fucking many months down the line, still no get a replacement for him. We almost came shocked by it. Couldn't. If we again, another one. Almost shocked that he was leaving. Yet fucking people are talking about after the Bayern Munich game, my Kun's away. Are the board the only people in the fucking room that's surprised by that? Have we not been planning for this? Is that no what world class would be in that department? Oh, one of our best players is going to leave. Why don't we consider fucking replacing them? Would that not be a good idea? Apparently not. Like, consistently, players just, even another example is Alistair Johnston. See a club of a similar standing. See, like, if you want to look at like a Bruges or whatever it might be, see if what happens to them, or what happens to us with Johnston going down, getting injured, and he's going to be out for whatever it might be. I've not read any reports, but you would imagine minimum 6 weeks, probably longer. Anthony Elston's an adequate cover, right? Immediately they would pivot and say, let's go and find cover. Let's go and sort that problem. Let's be proactive here. You never know. Johnston might have a bit of difficulty coming back, whatever it might be, but a club who are serious with that amount of money and want to be proper at that proper consistently at that level, treat the fans with the respect, treat the club with the respect it deserves, they would go out and be proactive and find something. We've got time, the window's open, the chance is there, the money's there. Let's go and sort it. Us, well, we fuck. We'll turn to Tony Ralston, who again, I'm not even at the point where I'm angry with players and the performances anymore, because he probably fucking knows he's not good enough. But he's just there and he just gets utilised. But again, we're going to be in the same fucking boat where he's playing no good enough, Scales is playing no good enough. God fucking forbid something happens to Tierney. And then there's fucking one fullback fit at the entire club. Again, it's just mismanagement. There's no other way to look at it. And they've got away with it for too long. The amount of fucking money they're getting paid to consistently do this and devalue the club once we get to a certain level and just refuse to push us beyond that. Like, we pushed one of the biggest teams in Europe so far last season. And, do you know, if we did go out and replace Kyogo, it could have been different, because we might have been able to push it. We might have had quality when we really, really needed it at that point. But again, did we? No. We just thought, fuck it, it's fine, we don't need it. Why? Because we knew at that point we were going to win the league. It didn't matter. So straight away, Europe was just a secondary thing to them. All they cared about was the finance we were bringing in. They had no interest in trying to push us as far as possible. And again, I'm not saying that would guarantee it, but you've got to give yourself the best fucking possible opportunity. And that's something we just never do. Again, I'm just fucking winding myself up again, and I'm probably repeating a lot of what the boys have already said, but it's just fucking murder. It really is. And as Danny said, I'll not touch on it too much, but even when it comes to the fans, and Danny's spot on, there's going to end up an accident with the way they're acting in there. And again, it's just sheer contempt. Like, whatever you might think of the boys, the GB, standing, whatever it might be, we've seen the club act this fucking ridiculous before, with the crushes that happened out in the tunnel behind an off stand, when the club want to start acting the cunt and doing stupid shit like this. We've seen it happen there, obviously, and even after it, when the club were blaming the post were blaming the club, and blah, 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 blah. And now they're doing it there, and it's not just the nonsense at the standing section. I know they're being arsey about people moving about inside the whole north stand and all that now. Like, there's going to end up an accident, and it's purely down to the total contempt. Like, they do not give a flying fuck about the people who pay their money, who turn up every week. It's just about, we run the club, this is our club, and we'll do what the fuck we want with it. And you all just shut up and turn up every week. But again, as I say, Danny spot on, there's going to end up an accident, and it's purely, the blame purely lies with him at that point. But Dan, I'll pass it back, because I could go on for another fucking 4 hours here, but it's just treat us with contempt, and it's negligence, and this is how you end up in this position, and they just shouldn't be here. They just quite simply shouldn't be here.
I completely agree, and I've waited patiently. Yous both says everything. I can't really disagree with what yous have says. I just think last night was a culmination. It was embarrassing, and I agree with, I think it was Danny that said that I still think we're going to go and win this tie. I think the team we're playing are really poor, but we should not be anywhere near this sort of situation. And I think, just to start, let's look at our Champions League record for the last 10 years. So that's the year after Karagandhi, when we first came up against Kazakh opposition. 14-15, fucking lost to Legia, get embarrassed, they absolutely battered us, and then we somehow get a reprieve because they fielded an ineligible player, get put back in. How did we take advantage of that? I hear you ask. Fucking lost the next round to Maribor, didn't make it. 15-16, Ronny Dyer's team, lost to Malmo, out again. 16-17, what did we do? We hired a great manager in Brendan Rodgers, spent money, bought Scott Sinclair, Moussa Dembele, guys like Kolo Touré had experience, got them in, and we qualified. Then the next year, that year that the manager had been there and brought in a few more players, we also qualified. Then 18-19, when a few players are maybe on the decline, the transfer windows have been actively discussed by the manager as not being up to standard, we lose to AEK Athens. Next season, obviously, Brendan's away, but then we go to all the hassle of getting another world-class manager in. It just so happens that we appoint him in the Hampden Showers, and he loses to Cluj in the 1920 season. Then the 2021 season, you come up against Hungarian opposition in Ferencváros, surely easily manageable. No, lose that as well. Then, even the next season, when that manager's out the way, you bring Ange in, who eventually was a great manager for Celtic, of course, but he loses to Midtjylland. Our fucking record in Champions League qualifiers is awful. 22, 23, 23, 24 and 24, 25 we got automatic qualification, which is all good. We get straight in, we done our business in the league and won. But you're kidding yourself if you can't just look and say that a lot of that coefficient was down to what Rangers had done. Like, we've been an embarrassment in Europe for a long time, and then that brings us to this week where 25-26 season, there's question marks about whether we're going to be in the Champions League or the Europa League, because we're at the halfway stage, we've played the home leg, and we're still level with Kairat Almaty, who absolute European minnows. I think one of you says on here have a lower sort of European club ranking than Hearts, and we have been, I think there's a lot of people to blame. Like, I'm going to go for the board because I think Desmond, particularly, the majority shareholder, but he is holding the club back so much. I've read all the Champions League results there. It goes back further than that. You're talking like over 20 years since we won a knockout tie in any European competition in the sort of latter stages. That is pathetic for a team like Celtic. Like, I'm not going to keep bringing Rangers up, but they've reached 2 Europa League finals since then, or a UEFA Cup final and a Europa League final. We are being fucking lied to that we're at our potential and that we're ran world class. Yous have all mentioned the Nicholson comments and what's been said. I think in 2020, Desmond came out and says that he felt that within 5 years, they wanted to have a team that was better than Martin O'Neill's or Gordon Strachan's or Lennon's or whoever's. And we'll never need it. Like, we're allowing this board to dissect our team, hamstring the manager. Now, the manager's not completely blameless. I know we are probably seen as a bit of a fanboy podcast for him, but in the last 12 months, we saw Matt O'Reilly get sold, Kyogo get sold, Nicholas Kuhn get sold, and Jota's long-term injury. Based on the transfer fees these players have went for in the history, that's £50-60 million worth of talent that you've taken out of that team, and our board is just refusing. Either, I've said it multiple times, they're either refusing to invest it or they're just point blank terrible at their jobs. And it could be either, because as we say, we've seen fucking tiny Dutch clubs come out and laugh at us and say how amateur we are. And do you know what? See if between now and the next 10 days we don't get anybody in, I wouldn't be surprised, because I don't think the board care, and most teams round about the world will just laugh at us, refuse to deal with us. And for people like Michael Nicholson and Peter Lawwell as well, like, I know one of you says it, Lawwell finally decided to step down. I think it was about the January of the COVID season that he announced he was going to go. He was gone for about fucking 10 minutes, as one of you says, and not only that, brought his fucking son back as head of recruitment. If we are to be convinced that what people who are in the sort of in the know and say that Lawwell doesn't touch it and it's nothing to do with him, why is he even there as a non-executive chairman? And why in the last year has his salary increased from £40,000 to £120,000? What has he done to justify that rise in wages if he's just there as a sort of ambassadorial role and just to sort of help out where it's needed? Like, I don't understand where that's come from. Same with Nicholson. I think he's on about over 700 grand a year. What is he doing to deserve that? Like, we have been fucking terribly run. I think that was the figures that I seen from, I think it was the Cynic put a photo up if you want to go and see the rest of the sort of salaries that we have given out, because that's about the only fucking thing we act as a big club where we give our board of directors and that the biggest sort of salary they're ever going to get. Like, we're a fucking joke. And you have mentioned it, Tony, at the start, is spot on. Our board, Dermot Desmond, whoever, Adidas, fucking every sponsor, they just see Celtic fans as a cash cow. That's why they'll release fucking 4 kits this season, 1 special one that's a St Patrick's one for this, 8 fucking different training tops every month, and it's alright, they'll slightly change the Adidas logo on one of them so that you can go and buy that as well. And that is they're no catering to give you the best sort of quality. They're fucking milking you, and they're taking advantage of how attached we are to Celtic, and how every 24 hours of your life is almost consumed by Celtic. You're thinking, when's the next game? You're thinking about the last game. You're thinking about the future. And the board, they're just happy to fucking please the PLC, please the shareholders, and get their bonuses and salary increases. They're not like me and you and people listening. They're not like us. They don't live and breathe Celtic the same way we do, and don't let them pretend that they do. As has been mentioned, if they did, there would have been much needed work done in the stadium. It's a fucking shithole in places, and what have they done? They fucking put new dugouts in, and I think there was a DJ behind the goals at the Jockstein stand yesterday. Well done. Fucking stadium's fucking falling apart. We've got banners that are not been put up, and that's all I can do. As you have mentioned, the safety issue that's happening, it's not even just a safety issue, which it is. Obviously we're putting these barriers up and sort of causing people to crowd, and queue to try and get places. Like, it's going to cause an injury, but it's also ruining the match day experience. You've got people who sit in, say, area 106 in the North Stand who want to go and talk to their pals who sit in 104, and they can't do that because some fucking new head of security wants to put his foot down because we fucking 14-year-old boys are jumping in the standing section. There's got to be a better way to manage that, and it's just unacceptable how fucking we're being run at the moment, and the three I've mentioned, they need to be removed. And the problem is, as I think Danny says, it's impossible for us to remove him because Dermot Desmond, I know he's the largest shareholder. There's no way for us to practically remove him now, so the only way we can do is to voice our displeasure. And I know there is some who are saying that shake your head and look at domestic dominance. Well, I'm afraid some of us have got bigger hopes and dreams for Celtic than to be 1 point ahead of Rangers, and that's maybe why people can't see it, because they're so consumed by being slightly ahead of them that they accept this mediocre showing in Europe. And it's not even like, I look at a team like Club Brugge. I've gave Rangers enough praise, so we all had a good laugh on Tuesday when Club Brugge turned up to Ibrox and were 3-0 up within 20 minutes. They've sold a lot of players in the summer. I think they've sold about £80 million worth of euros worth of players, but they've also spent close to 40 million. And why we are not in that situation where it's almost like we're fucking stockpiling the money just because we expect not to qualify. And if that's the case, just come out and say, nah, we're not prepared to speculate to accumulate. What other fucking PLC or business would be ran like this, where there's nobody accountable for all the failures I mentioned in the Champions League, where we're not prepared to spend that extra 10-15 million to ensure that games like this are just routine. They might not always go right, but you know what, 80-90% of the time they will. That sort of brings me on to the game. There's enough been said about the board from me and yous. I'm sure I'll let one of these back in a minute. Just on the game, it's no the squad we've went on to death about how poor it is, but it's not even just the fringe players that are standing out as being poor now. You've got Maeda's just absolutely started the season awfully. Carter Vickers, absolute brain fart from him at one point in the second half, and if their striker had been a bit more efficient with his lob, he would have scored. I think that was all it was missing for last night, was them scoring, because they were a completely ordinary team, but they were well set up, and we just didn't have any ideas. Danny mentioned that every sub was just to put one player out of position to accommodate another, and then would change it 5-10 minutes later. The injury to Johnston is obviously bad news for us, because Ralston, I think he's capable of playing domestically, but he's not great, and now we don't have a backup right back. Scales, who the manager's persisting with his first choice centre half, is a second choice left back, which means that you're having to move your first choice centre half out of position when Tierney can't last a game yet. Now Tierney's levels above in this country, and he'll stand up to Champions League no bother, but while we're working him back to fitness, we're having to move Scales. Yeah, again, the manager was out saying that Inamura is just no good enough. Now, I think you're going to be in a fucking embarrassing position where, because Ralston's going to have to play and Scales is moving to left back, you're probably going to have to use Inamura in your squad now, despite the manager coming out twice and saying that he's nowhere near it. Because of the lack of depth and the lack of cover we've got in the full-back area, you're going to have to probably... I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the bench on Saturday and maybe comes off the bench. And then the midfield, Engels was brilliant on Friday night. I know it's a different level, but I thought it was harsh no using him. I agree with Danny. Never seen Igren in the midfield. I think him and Forrest just kept running into each other last night in the first half, and I know it was a bit of a problem out in the left as well, where players just seemed to keep running into each other. I think Hatate, Maeda and Tierney done it a few times as well. Like, we have a laugh and a joke with Andy, but it's what you get with Hatate. He'll either win you the game or he can be as good as invisible. And the fact that McCowan wasn't used, I agree. We struggled in that first game of the league against St Mirren, and McCowan came on and unpicked the defence, and I personally don't think we have a player like that in the midfield apart from McCowan, so I would have found some way to get him on. I know we were enforced with the Johnson sub, but I just felt that we had to get McCowan on. Yamada, again, you don't want to be too harsh, but just don't see it at all. Yang beats a man, then has no final sort of output. I think he just lacks any quality. I don't think he'll be at Celtic long term. And then Forrest, I spoke about all the Champions League games. It was the season before that. It was 11 years ago that he scored that last minute winner against Karagandy. And we are still 11 years later relying on him to try and dig us out a hole against Team from Kazakhstan, which is fucking unacceptable, because I tell you what, we're not doing it because he's still at the peak of his powers. He scored one league goal, one goal in all competitions last season. So the fact that he's still a starter in these sort of games is sort of just completely shows what situation we're in. And look, I feel sorry for Rodgers, but as I say, I think things could have been slightly different last night, and I think you can tell he's pissed off, but I don't expect him to come out and slate the board completely, but he's been used as a bit of a shield to them with his comments, and he's been telling us for long enough that he'd be happy as long as the deals were done by the end of the transfer window. I think I listened to the press conference on the way home from the game last night, and you could tell that he seemed pissed off, and he's feeling it, and he's probably regretting saying that in his first press conference back that the only way he'd no last the 3 years if he was emptied, I think he says. But he must be sitting there thinking, what the fuck is going on here? Because it's the situation we're in is completely diabolical. And as I say, I think next week that we will see it out. I think that team are pretty poor, and I think, look, we've eventually got to take one of the chances. I say that as obviously famous last words, but I think if we'd drawn any other team that we were potentially coming up against, I think we'd be in big trouble, and I think they would be in a perilous position in the tie. Thankfully we're not, and we'll see how that goes on Tuesday, but I know just as sort of emotions are raised, a few I want to get back in. Tony, I think you've been waiting patiently.
Aye, thanks very much. This is like back to the kind of 2023 when the board had made such a mess of the summer transfer window then, but I feel as though it seems that we're even a wee bit more annoyed than usual. I was just going to say that any club that we're dealing with now will have watched that last night with the telly up as thousands of fans shout sack the board, and probably when Michael picks up the phone and goes, we'd like to offer you 15 pence for your best player, they're going to go, well, Michael, the price was 5 million, but your fans fucking hate you, so now it's 7, so make your mind up. By their stupidity in being overly risk-averse, they have actually created such a major risk whereby they now risk overpaying like they did last year. They risk going out the Champions League and losing unbelievable sums of money, which they've been good at. I mean, people talk about the money they have in the bank. I can think of 5 Champions League qualifications where they've cost us over 100 million through their outrageously poor transfer activity. So when people say that, oh, look how well they've run us, tell them to fuck off. It's nonsense. These things can be refuted. Cluj, Maribor, Malmo, Ferencváros, AEK, John McGinn. You can refute any positivity about this board very easily. Don't worry about that. That is such an easy thing to refute. So with this whole idea being risk-averse, it's just, it ends up, they're just taking really large risks for no apparent reason. Like, see yesterday, if we brought in a winger and he's coming on with 30 minutes to go, sack the board doesn't get sung. It's a lift. Everybody's lifted. Everybody's really raring to go, and everybody's bouncing, hoping this guy can change the game. Let's say you get 2 new wingers by this point. The next winger comes on, 20 minutes to go. Oh, everybody's up for it. 15 to go, you bring on a new striker. The fans would probably have rode you over the line, and the new signings would have contributed. But it's very difficult for fans to be going, right, here we go. The big change has been made. Liam Scales has gone to left back. I mean, nobody's sitting there going, oh, fuck, that's going to win us the game. You're like sitting there going, oh, fuck, we could end up losing this. And I think somebody actually did get past him at left back. So none of it really makes any sense why this board seem so hell-bent and annoying the fans. But the unfortunate thing is there's so many people defending them still. I just don't know why. I just don't understand why they are continually defending this board. I think there is a real thing with Rangers getting bust, and I think Celtic fans see this money in the bank as we're never going to get bust. We'll always hold this over them, and Fergus saved us, and remember the 90s, and look at our profits. And I couldn't give a flying fuck about the profits. Don't go to me. It's not my, well, it is my money. It's my money I've put in, but I'm not getting it fucking back. So for me, I'm not interested about profits. I'm not interested in lording it over Rangers about profits. I want to beat them in the pitch. I want to outperform them in Europe. I don't really care about bank balances at multi-millionaires. That doesn't really have any effect on me, you know what I mean? So I think a lot of your fans are just really consumed with this whole Rangers thing, and obviously it was great Rangers get beat as well, but make no mistake about it, Cluj would have fucking battered us silly as well. No danger. It would have been a similar scoreline, except we might not have scored because we don't have any firepower up front. I think it's, sorry, did I say Cluj? Sorry, I meant Club Bruges. But aye, they would have battered us silly. So Aye, it was just another point about the board. You know me, I'm forever having a go at them, but I think they deserve it. I think there's a lot of people at the club that could be dead and removed. As I say, it's just one big clique. It's one big club and we're not in it, but if they shut the fuck up and pay for it.
That's what it feels like for sure. And Danny, you want to jump back in?
Aye, Tony stole a bit of my thunder there when he was talking about 2012, and I think, just listening to what you were saying, I can't keep getting away from the fact that this whole thing about Rangers, right, is we had Everton going away, they died and went away and blah, blah. 12, 13 years later, they still have that mentality that, at the end of the season, we all want to be a point in front of Rangers, whatever. But to have that mentality still, it's like they should be like them and every other team in Scotland. And it's not like, we're not entitled to like win everything, right? But let's be honest, they've got enough money there that they pretty much, if it was spent wisely, right, which seems to be the hardest thing in the world at the minute. If the money we've got is spent wisely, right, they will never, ever, ever. You might have the odd cup final that you lose in penalties, right? But over the course of a season, if this money in Scott that we've got in abundance is spent wisely, it would take something very, 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 very special to deny us winning the league every year. They turn it into a coin flip. There's people that want There's people that want to go to the games, sing their hearts out for 90 minutes, back to team, go home and whatever. Right, that's fine. That's brilliant. But there's others that actively get in the way of all this and say, start fighting with folk and tell you. I mean, I seen a tweet today. I don't want to single the guy out because it's not fair, but he was saying about, parking. He called it the pish. Stop the pish next week. We've got big games on Saturday, Sunday, fucking Saturday, next Sunday in the week. And you think, when is the right time to go for these? When's the right time to do something about it? Is it when you get into the Champions League and PSG notch 6 at Parkhead? You meant to moan then, or you just meant to be happy because you're in the Champions League? You can't moan when things are going bad because things were good at one point. You can't moan when things are going good because who moans when things are going good? It's like, what are the ambitions like? What are the ambitions of most of the fans? What are the ambitions of the club? You need to look big picture. The money that we've got, right? You don't even need to spend half it. And if you spend it wisely, we're going to win. It looks like we didn't spend the money wisely last year. We overpaid for Engels. We overpaid for Ida. Folk are using this as a stick to beat Rodgers with. We spent. I mean, on deadline day, we spent close to £20 million on players. It's about 27, 28 if you count the Ida money in there as well. You're talking about Engels and Trusty, who the manager, for whatever reason, doesn't trust. And yet, people say, well, maybe the board don't want to give Rodgers 25 million. They're still going to make a profit. They're still going to make money. Having signed those players, they're going to be bragging about that. The whole thing about Nicholson and Lawwell, you only hear from them at AGMs when they're largely in a crowd of people that they know similar to them. People that just want to come in and see how their shares are doing. They play a wee video, they pay the fans lip service, you get a wee video about, the women's team and the B team and where we're going here, there and everywhere. Nothing ever gets fucking enacted in that, it turns out that, Peter Lawwell gets re-elected with fucking 99.9% of the vote, and Michael Nicholson 99.9%. There's always one, somebody you've never heard of, but turns out they've been in Celtic for 30 years. Well, he only got re-elected with 91, so there's a strong feeling against him. And it's just the same every year, and it's so insular. I think, was it Tony said at the start, there's a total arrogance. The thing about this fucking transfers now, he's right. Teams are going to be like, well, it's the last week of the window, so the prices are going to go up, and you're at a point now where they face, again, overpaying for players. And it's just, like, who's the players that they've brought in, right, before I go off on an off tangent, look at the players we've brought in. You've got Inamura, who Rodgers obviously doesn't want. Has Rodgers signed any of these players? So who is signing the players? If there'll no sanction, this is the point I want to take him back in for. If there'll no sanction who Rodgers wants and who Rodgers' scouts want, then fucking sack Rodgers, sack all his scouts, start again with somebody that you will fucking support. Or go yourselves. Because see this status quo of no really backing the manager and just staying there and it's not going to work. Somebody said on Twitter, this is a managed decline. There's fuck all managed about it. They've got absolutely fucking no idea what they're doing. To call this managed is an insult. It's like last night was like Darren was right. The only thing missing was that mob scoring. That was fucking an accident made it happen. Next week, who knows? Fuck, it's going to be horrible. Could go all the way to penalties. It's going to be fucking horrible. We should still have enough, but fuck me, it's going to be horrible. And then what did they do? Pull out 2 or 3 signings because we're going to win the Champions League. It's not good enough. And the way things are going, it's just like I don't see it getting any better. You know, domestically we'll be foul. Started the season alright domestically. We're fucking really good the other night against Falkirk. That mob are probably on a par with Falkirk. Yet, fuck it up. Domestically we should be fine, but we're only going to have this conversation again next year. I think Rodgers is away. I don't think anybody thinks he's staying now, really. I think we all think he's away. So you're going to be here next year with a different manager. And we're going to be having the same conversation, and yet folk are going to come out and say, well, why would you give the manager money because he's not that proven, or we've not seen what he's done yet. Maybe he's got to work with what he's got first before the board are trusting him with money. The board need to go, or they need to bring people in, sack everybody, bring somebody in that you'll trust, bring scouts in that you'll listen to, you know, folk, I don't know, blah blah, bring them all in. Bring folk in that you will trust and you will support. Because if you're not going to support the people that are there, what's the fucking point of them being there? Rodgers is a sitting duck at the minute. And I found myself angry with him last night for the team selections. I feel the way he's buried that in a mirror boy quite harsh. And it's the same thing he did with Shred fucking 6 years ago. Rodgers, is he waiting in the call somewhere to go elsewhere? Is he, you know, I think he will see the season at this time, but I do think he's away. So, is there a plan in place? Are they just going to wait to see who's out of job next summer? Are they going to wait to see Dunfermline get promoted or go on a cup run? They're fucked. And it's only their own fault. They've got in their own way again. They've done it yet again. And now you're looking at a fucking... They're a sham. They want to sack their manager. They're a complete shambles. They'll probably get away with it again this year in the league. But it's not going to take a lot to shift that mob. Look at our squad. If it doesn't get serious reinforcements brought in, it's not going to take much to shift us for a position where we've actually got all this money. You could give the Celtic manager 30 million every year to spend, and if he spends it wisely, Celtic will never lose the league and they'll win more cups than they don't. But yeah, it looks like he's talking about signing, was it 7 players they've signed this year? Tierney, obviously he's a no-brainer. Did Rodgers sign the Gren? I mean, he's played them like he made these signings, so who knows? I don't think he signed the rest of them. Who's this boy for Fulham that we've never seen? Rodgers isn't scouting the Japanese leagues. Now, Japan was a market that served us well in the last few years. I can totally understand the club trying to utilise that again. That's fine. But Rodgers clearly doesn't trust it the same way that Ange did. Ange knew the players for there. You know, he'd managed it, he knew them. He knew Asian football. Rodgers clearly doesn't. So he's clearly no fan. So why are we not signing players that the manager wants? There's no point in him being there. It's all I'm saying, Rodgers, and I'm of the opinion Rodgers should have got a lot better out of the 11 and the subs that he had last night. I think he should be getting better out of the squad. But there's no point in him having them there if you're not going to let him build a squad. Now, I know modern football teams work with a director of football and you bring him in, he signs the players, the manager coaches and blah, but there's got to be a relationship there. There's clearly not a relationship between Rodgers and the board. Again, the Celtic fans are caught in the middle of it because what we are watching on the park's shite, half the park's shite, and yet we'll probably sneak by again this year. If we get into the Champions League, it's going to be 7 or 8. 5 or 6 of them are going to be fucking doings. Then you're looking and saying, well, do you know what, we've got our money. There's no drab in Europa League anymore, so you're just taking your doings and then you're out of Europe. The fucking agony is that it lasts until the end of January now, so we've got 2 games after Christmas. We'll probably already be out by that point. You've got to fucking... that's another fucking... probably a home game in there, so that's another 60 quid out your bank after Christmas, and you're watching, you know, by that point it'll be fucking, I don't know, Club Bruges or fucking some mob that we should be able to compete with, but we're already out. Who gives a fuck? They probably roll 3 off as a Parkhead, and then you're like, well, we're 12 clear in the league, who cares? We're going for a treble. It's got to, and that sounds like you're entitled because you should be happy at that, but you can see it coming, and it's not good enough, and I really hope something happens soon. As I've said, I just can't see it.
Aye, who knows how it'll go. Andy, you get anything to add just before we wrap up and give a quick Livy prediction?
I suppose while we're all getting stuck in, like I say, I can't disagree with again with anything that's been said. Danny's spot on when he says at the end there, like, as of right now, you look at that squad and it won't take a lot to shift us. It really, really won't. I mean, do you look at that squad? I mean, I'd fucking barely back that squad to win a game at all, let alone go a full season and win it. And you see what happened to Johnston. Like, what if that was Maeda going down? Like, what a fucking mess you could be in again. And it's always we've been banging the drum before, and people have gave us a hard time for it about constantly for a position of strength is when you should be strengthening again. You should be preparing, because that's what big clubs do. That's what serious clubs do. That's how they act. That's what well-run clubs do. They become that sort of well-oiled machine. And I remember conversations we had way back when, after the fucking Lennon disaster, and obviously turning to Ange and somehow managed to get us back on track. And ahead of the sort of timeline we all thought, and even probably ahead of most people's best wishes at the time. And then we were having conversations on here talking about, but there's going to come a time when Ange moves on, and as is mentioned, obviously he knew the market in Japan and signed a lot of players for there, and Asia, whatever else, and it all worked, and it was all great, and it was all rosy. But what happens when he goes? How do we get that continuity? How do we keep going? How do we sort of keep as much of this successful model that Ange had built and keep it rolling? But we put no time or effort into that. We just, that doesn't fucking matter. It's fine. We're better than everyone else in the country. It just doesn't matter. And then it's slowly but surely the wheels fall off the cart with it, and now we're at the stage where we're just, well, Rodgers, we've just signed an Amura there, and he's like, who the fuck's that? No, he's clearly no, he clearly didn't want him. Clearly, we were just hoping that he'd be alright. What, fucking 22-year-old, and we're talking about I needs to go out and game time and everything else. Like, come on, fuck, man. Look, was this really where we're at? And even people just desperate to batter Rodgers with a stick, and again, it's batting for the bold is what it is when they talk about, but he spent money and he done, look at him now and all the rest of it. Like, I've said this a million times, and I'll probably say it a million more with the whole leader situation. That, again, was bold negligence of how that entire situation unravelled. We needed a striker, we were desperate for a striker, and we scrambled out and got a last minute loan and didn't put anything in it about a possible option to buy. Nothing, no forward thinking. It was just a last minute scramble about managed to land in him, and by all accounts had a good season as a second striker, scored a lot of goals, some really, really big goals. And again, we dragged the fucking arse right out the entire thing, and Norwich took us for a ride with the price. Mismanagement is what caused that price. And, like, by all accounts, why wouldn't we have went for him? Like, why wouldn't we have spent that money? The money is there. Like, the board have cost us money. If that's the argument that people want to use, has been mentioned already. The board have cost us a fucking fortune. When you really want to roll it out like that, Darren ran through the games earlier. I'll not run through them again. If you had all the qualifiers up, really we should have won them all if we were properly prepared. Even if you take 1, 2 and say, just that one half sort of play-off games or whatever, but we should be beating all the teams if we're properly prepared, the manager's properly backed, and you give yourself the best possible opportunity. We should be winning the games. The board cost us hundreds of millions of pounds by failing us as fans, by failing the manager, by failing the team. And it's that old fucking failure to prepare to fail nonsense. That's what it is. That's what happens. And they always talk about he's great businessmen and great all that. Like, that's clearly not the case. Because when you match it up on the continent and on Europe, it's consistent failure. It's consistently missing the standard that we should be at. It's consistently been fucking miles away from it. I think Annie's have already mentioned it. Look, even now, I said earlier, we should still have enough to beat this mob because they aren't that much better than Falkirk. But we're lucky who we get thrown against, because we could have took a right fucking showing up at Parkhead the other night. Or last night, sorry, if it was a right good team. And it's been said already, like, if the board don't trust him with the money, then get some cunt else that they do trust. Get somebody else in to make this to make deals and to pick out players that they trust to do it, because the way it is now isn't good enough. It isn't working. Long term, it doesn't work, and it's you can't carry on like this, because we're going to end up in a situation where we are now, where you've got qualifiers to get in, and the minute you start getting harder draws, you're not going to get away with it, and we're back at square one again, where it's Europa League, and then we just go and embarrass ourselves in that, and it only spirals into worse things. But Darren, I'll pass it back to you because I don't want to go repeating myself again. But it's nobody's surprised here.
I think we've had enough, Andy. I'll just take your quick Livy predictions. I don't think we're in the mood to run out of it, so I'll take your quick Livy prediction.
I'll say a 1-0 excitement. 1-0 to Celtic, and I'll say either will score the goal.
I'll go 2-1 Celtic, I think. I think we'll make a few changes. I'll say Johnny Kenny will get a double. That's how inspired I'm. Tony, what's your prediction?
1-0 Celtic, Balak Visha to score, and Broom to set it up, and lots and lots of chance I have to sack the board, hopefully as loud as I've ever fucking been.
And Danny, you round us off.
I think it'll be a struggle. 2-0, but I don't think it'll be inspiring. I think Forest will score. I hope Forest scores and gets that out the road so we can move on for the rest of the season. And Carter Vickers for a corner. I can't see it being inspiring.
No, I think we're all feeling pretty similar. I'm sure a lot of the listeners are as well. You can let us know what you think the score will be. We'll be back after that game, hopefully talking about signings. Ha 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 ha. But we'll be back discussing that, and obviously early game on Tuesday we'll try to get back together before it and get a wee preview, and maybe we'll be in a better mood. But I know it's been a long episode, so I do appreciate if anybody's taking the time to hang about to the end. And we'll speak to you next week. Hail, hail.